Hi. We're going to be talking a little bit about our one of the flagship products called SmartDocs Supplier Portal. It's an AI-based smart business platform that enables organizations to have a very sophisticated and modern collaboration with their suppliers so that you have a very seamless supply chain that you can manage. Briefly, what we'll touch upon on the session today, we'll talk a quick overview of what SmartDocs is. We talk about the big problems that our software addresses, and then we go right into the Supplier Portal. The focus of today's session is more to do with Supplier Portal, so we talk specifically about the core functionality of the Supplier Portal, and we'll go right into the demonstration of it, and we'll also touch upon at the end a little bit about the rollout criteria or our recommendations about how customers can roll our software out. To start with, so this overview of SmartDocs, right? We are an enterprise software company. We are what we call as a smart process automation company with a deep expertise in streamlining complex processes. Smart Process Automation, or SPA, is the next generation RPA, or robotic process automation, that takes advantage of the AI advancements to help organizations do automation. We are a Silicon Valley-based high-tech company, and what our solutions are is they enable businesses to have AI-enabled business solutions that can use natural language and other cognitive technologies that are new. We are an SAP, Microsoft, and a Google partner. Several of our products are certified by SAP, and core customer base that we have SAP as their ERP system, though conceptually the core infrastructure can work with any backend system per se. And our vision is really to organize all the processes of the organizations, and primarily also to get rid of paper. So we see that whenever you have paper in any business process, it's really a major hindrance, and there is no reason in this day and age to still have paper. So that's one of our missions, to ensure that the business processes, when you get rid of paper, it helps you take advantage of lots and lots of new things that are there. What we help our customers is in the journey towards the digital transformation, and we see that there are really 4 constituents to a digital journey that need to be addressed by any organization. One is obviously employees, so the company's employees, how they are the most important assets, how to take care of them. Then customers, obviously how you want to delight your customers. Then the third constituent is suppliers, how you nurture them, have better relationship with them so that overall you have a seamless interaction. And then the last piece, though it's not necessarily a specific individual, it's more to do with data, because you really want to tame the data that you have. And the digital code that SmartDocs provides addresses all of these constituents per se. Though on today's session we'll talk specifically about the Supplier Portal, we'll touch upon many aspects of what a digital transformation would look like. So before we jump right into the demonstration and core functionality of the Supplier Portal, I want to take a couple of minutes just to chat a little bit about some of the key problems and some insights that we as an organization have gained over a period of several years and decades of implementing solutions to our customers. So the big problems are essentially about how to manage processes, documents, and data. Really, these are the 3 main things. Processes, because at the end of the day, any business activity is to do with some kind of a workflow or certain steps that are done by certain people. How you manage it, how you take control of it, and how you make it seamless is a very important aspect. And any process inadvertently will always have documents in the flow. So how you tame the unstructured data is very important. The third thing is about data. Obviously, there is structured data with databases and things like that. So how you tie all these things, any organizations, any IT organizations, the details are to do with these 3 aspects. And if you really look at the analysis of how some of these are dealt with, most of the current systems that organizations have are really siloed systems which are disconnected with data that is duplicated. There's generally no single source of truth. The UI is cumbersome, either being old or otherwise. complex systems, it's always a heterogeneous landscape. Everybody understands, but still the complexity is really a relic of the past architectures, high maintenance, costly hardware, difficult to innovate, many of these paper-centric as we were talking about, and not taking advantage of any AI or machine learning by itself. And the current solutions are either too expensive, old UI, or complex integration, long implementation cycles, and some of these things that you can see. This is the way we see these various aspects that are there in the market. So some of the insights that we have based upon our implementations are, one is if you have garbage in, you can only get garbage out. So what you receive really matters, and what you receive and what you store really matters, and that goes into the heart of Supplier Portal, as we'll talk later on, that you get high quality invoices from your suppliers. And when we say high quality invoices with the right data and things like that, then the amount of work that happens downstream will be reduced. But the idea that garbage in and garbage out is very, very relevant in any organization. Another obvious thing that most people understand already is that this is an information economy. So the information or data is literally the money. So companies just do business just because of an ability to have an advantage in information. So IT as information is really important. And it's another aspect of it is that we also realize that it's not software alone, though software is an enabler. It's all to do with the aspect of how to do business in a new way, how it's implemented, and changing the mindset of the individuals, and the process is very, very important. And the other aspect is storage itself is cheap. If you think about the data and documents and stuff like that, storing of documents is really, really cheap. Google and Amazon and Microsoft, they all made it extremely cheap. But the fact is, it's not the storage that alone matters. It's really about how documents are managed. So if you keep piling on lots and lots of data or documents without any control, at the end it bites you. Okay, having said that, what we see as the drivers for any digital transformation, we see here are a summary of them. Some business drivers that are where the business teams understand and are important for them. And there are also the drivers from the IT or infrastructure or the technology side that are there. One of the business drivers is to ensure reduction of the business risk, because they want to take control of the processes and reduce the process and economic risk. The other aspect is to achieve compliance or goals. So need to have control, and compliance is in general a very important aspect of any business process owner, a CFO or a CMO or others. Increase in productivity, always want to get more done by the team members is a really important aspect from business perspective. When we say more done, what is more really matters, because from a business owner's perspective, it's really, for example, in the context of invoices, more invoices flowing through the system. That's really important for them. From an IT perspective, the drivers are slightly different. So one of the important things is the reduction of system maintenance, right? So the aspects of how the data and documents are stored within the various systems, if they are managed complex environments, it takes time and there's more risk to them. The other driver is to need to have third-party integrations. So anything that's not done with open standards and other stuff, it's a business case. So it's always a heterogeneous environment or a hybrid environment, and then ability to do this integration is generally important. And also the reduction of technical debt. Most organizations have some kind of legacy systems. So the risk of having old or non-compliant systems is a driver for ITUIs to either replace them with modern infrastructures or making it from a technology side easily manageable. Right? So this covers some of the core aspects of what our solutions generally deal with. So we'll talk specifically about Supplier Portal. As we said, the session is more to do with Supplier Portal specifically, though we'll talk about some of the complementary solutions that we have at a high level. But the core aspect of Supplier Portal is essentially a external-facing portal that any organization can set it up quickly within a few days to have a core collaboration platform to interact with your suppliers. So a powerful platform to close the gap between the customers and suppliers. It has a lot of features that we'll show and talk through along the way, but one of the key things is the submission of invoices to enable suppliers to sublet invoices, so take the purchase orders and say flip them into the invoices, or even submit non-PO invoices along with documentation so that you can have your compliance and other rules applied. It also has the aspects of receiving advanced shipment notices, order confirmation, so that there is more oversight or visibility into what's happening at the supplier side, so that the risk of production planning and other stuff is reduced. We have chatbots, AI-based, artificial intelligence-based chatbots, so that some supplier self-service can be handled without even having to have your procurement or the AP teams directly spending time on answering emails or phone calls about certain things. It's integrated out of the box with SAP. If you have SAP as your backend ERP system, it can work very seamlessly with it. And the architecture we'll talk later on is an innovative asynchronous infrastructure, so that there is no opening of, say, firewall ports or things like that that reduces the business risk. We support both on-prem and cloud models. So the on-prem model would mean that the software itself will sit somewhere in your DMZ, and your IT would manage just like any other systems. Though it is not within your firewall, it is in the DMZ. In the cloud option, it's SmartDocs, or one of our partners would manage it for you guys. So coming to the core features, we'll talk through a number of things. There is a vendor master data sync. That means when you have your vendors that you want to enable on the Supplier Portal, that information is going to be there and in the portal, so that the suppliers can either request changes to their own information on others, so that the master data itself is up to date. We have PO flip functionality, where you can take a PO and flip it into an invoice. There's an order confirmation, we already talked, integrations we talked, chatbots. There is an integrated help desk or ticketing mechanism, so that for issues and others, the suppliers don't need to use phone calls. They can use the ticketing mechanism that is there. They can submit a ticket, and it can be viewed by the appropriate handlers or analysts and go from there. There is Supplier Collaboration with messaging and ticketing. That's part of it. There's the document management. All the documents, the supporting documents and others can be managed all along the way seamlessly. We also support non-PO invoices. We'll talk about how non-PO invoices can be submitted. There is an invoice status check, the payment and invoice status that the suppliers can check themselves. There is an ability to do bulk uploads. There's vendor registration and a few other things like rejected invoices, announcements, alerts, and certain other analytics and reports are there. These are at a very high level, all the core features that are there. And just one more slide before we go into the demo. Some of the unique aspects of what SmartDocs solutions, our architecture is that one of the first things is it's a bot-enabled architecture. So that means all along the way there is an aspect of a bot that can interact with the end users per se, which can also go into a manual mode to allow a shared service center analyst to interact with the supplier if needed. We support Dockers and containerization, so that from an IT management perspective, it's pretty lightweight. It's fully cloud native. It's built as a cloud platform initially, and we also support on-prem per se, but unlike many other traditional software, this is cloud native software. We use MongoDB, which is a very high performance NoSQL database. Integration with SAP is already inbuilt. It's a very, very lightweight application from an application resource requirements perspective. It uses efficiently the memory and CPUs. The UI itself is mobile optimized, and we also can use Google Drive or OneDrive if you're one of those customers that are Google or Microsoft Office 365 customers. You can also use that as a part of the storage for documents seamlessly, all connected to SAP. Okay. Some of the key business benefits that you get with a solution like this is to allow achieve the digital transformation, so eliminating paper and streamlining the process, increase productivity by reducing invoice exceptions that we'll see later on, and reduce business risk so that you have compliant processes to protect you later on, and then better customer or supplier relations in this case to increase the bottom line. And so the digital transformation, compliance, and productivity are some of the key aspects of the directions that the business benefits can provide you. This is a quick slide about an architecture. All the things that you see in the green are inside the network, meaning inside your intranet, and then the portal itself is outside in the DMZ, whether it is in the cloud itself or even within your on-prem, but outside your firewall. This is how it could be deployed, and there is this small add-in that goes into your SAP system if you have SAP as the backend ERP system, and then all the other aspects are part of. Some of these are not part of Supplier Portal by itself. So we have a Smart Payable solution is more an accounts payable optimization and automation solution. So the Supplier Portal is complementary to that, but the Supplier Portal itself can work with other third-party accounts payable solutions that you might already have. So in that case, you can just drop it in and interact integrate seamlessly with your other systems that you have from an AP perspective. Right. Having said that, let's jump right into a demo. So first thing that we'll do is we'll go into the Supplier Portal. So that's supplierportal.smartdocsnow.com. And I'm now logging on as a Supplier user. So anyway, it's Supplier administrator called Tracy Smith. So once I log in, you see a number of things on the screen here. So what system is giving is it's giving you some information about how many open purchase, requisition purchase orders that you have, how many recent invoices, how many tickets were there, and a few other things like rejected invoices, change requests, and other stuff that you see a number of cards there. But more importantly, you see the top 5 purchase orders that are there, recent 5, not top 5. Though you can go into the details. Any payments that are done will show up in the payments aspect of it. And then there is also the concept of announcements, where if you as a customer want to announce a few things to your suppliers, you can put those announcements and make that visible appropriately. There are other submodules which include RFQ process and others, but today we'll primarily focus on some of the key aspects that are there. So I'll first go to the purchase orders menu. So this is where you would see all the open purchase orders that are there. So these are synchronized from your backend ERP system. So in this demo instance, the data is actually coming from an SAP backend system. So if you click on any purchase order here, so what the system is giving you is what items that are part of the purchase order, some of the details, including the payment terms and a few things. And as a vendor, when you are in this purchase order, you have a number of things that you could do. The activities that you could do are the things that you should see on the right-hand top side primarily. So you can click on the order confirmation button if you want to confirm this goods, this purchase order. So this is in case you require your suppliers to do confirmations, they can do right from within here. So they can confirm that, okay, they're okay with this, the quantity, and the price that are included here. They can also put in some supporting documents if they want to. But then let's go to another one. So that's one aspect, right? To do order confirmation, they can also send an ASN, so advanced shipment notice. Let's say they are ready to ship some goods, then they can go and say reference 123 or 3122. And you can say we are shipping like 5 of those goods and then 25 of the second items, and then they can choose some attachments, some supporting documents if they have to say, okay, this is what we're going to certain stuff, right? So that you can attach documents and then put some notes and they can submit it. So in that case, the ASN itself will be sent back to your backend ERP system, for example, SAP, and then the shipment notice, ASN will be confirmed there. Most importantly, they can also obviously do an invoice submission. So this is where the supplier is flipping a purchase order into an invoice. So you click the last button, and then this is essentially allowing you as a supplier to say, okay, this is my invoice number, TRY-122, whatever, let's say that's their invoice number. They can choose some payment terms that are there. If there is a freight amount, they can do, and if they even have a freight vendor, freight provider like UPS or FedEx or whatever, they can choose. Again, some of these fields are configurable, so they can decide what to do. And they can say, okay, this is a material item that I'm sending, and then they can confirm whatever is there. And more importantly, based on the configuration, they might be required to submit a bunch of documents before they submit it. So, for example, maybe you require a tax invoice. So you'll let it go like that, and then the user can pick up an invoice. Let's say I picked a scan invoice, and then this is an invoice for the purchase, let's say. You can put anything. So then you can click on submit, and on submit, see here now I get a message saying that shipping notice documentation not uploaded. So it's actually saying in addition to this, I also need to put some shipping notice documentation. So I have to go in and I'll have to submit one more document before it can take it further. So let me say I'm going to pick let's say I'm going to pick this document, and then once I submit it, then now it takes it into consideration, and it essentially is going to store this as a newly submitted invoice, and eventually it's going to send it to the backend ERP system in an asynchronous fashion. So at this stage, it's uploading those two documents that are there and the data that is related, and it's going to finish that. Once that is done, once that aspect of it is then, so it says invoice is successfully created. So if we go back, then if we say, okay, you're done, and it'll go back to the purchase orders. So we submitted a new invoice based on that. In addition, there are a few other functionalities that are there which can be turned on or turned off. In some cases, if the customers want to have close collaboration with the suppliers, where you might want the suppliers to send you some updates to the purchase orders that you can look at. They can click on this download button, and then say, for example, when the production is going to be ready, or what production volume that you're working with, or some of the reasons why you want some updates that are there. You can configure those reason codes for such updates, and also add some supporting documents that are needed, and then submit a request. So these are essentially the item update requests that can go into the backend and then work on that. Right. So that's about how a invoice itself can be created from a PO. In addition to that, actually, if we go down, I think the latest PO invoice that we submitted will be this last one that we submitted, TR122. Now, if we want to create, so what we created was a PO invoice. So we also support non-PO invoices where there is no purchase order if that is turned on. So if you click on this plus button on the right-hand bottom, now you can, as a supplier, they can submit an invoice, let's say TRY124. And then they can pick some remit to address that you need to get those coming from, and then also the ship to address that are there where you are shipping. You can choose the currencies, let's say USD, payment terms, net 15, and if there's freight, likely we might not have freight for non-POs, but again, depending on that. Here, just like earlier, you can create a non-PO invoice, and then it'll again flow right into whatever backend system that is going to be there. And the fact that the invoices are submitted via the portal ensures that proper data comes into the system, so that it is you'll have lots of checks. So one of the things that we talked earlier about garbage in, garbage out, right? So the fact that you can stop bad information coming into the system by having such controls upfront is a very good aspect. Okay. Another aspect that we'll see is, as we already saw ASNs and order confirmations that are also there in the system that allow for looking at the orders and confirmation. So that's more in the context of the collaboration. In addition, there is also each supplier can look at their own information, and including they can maintain their own users depending on how it's licensed and how the management of the users are. the actual administration of the users at a supplier can be delegated to a supplier administrator, who in turn can add more users to them. You can look at the remit to addresses that are there, and some contact information, bank information, whatever is maintained, they can maintain them here. If there are any documents, you can also have the document managed here as well. So the whole aspects of the content management itself is all in here per se. Now, in addition, we were talking about the ticketing mechanism too as one of the functionalities. So if you click on this ticket button on the right-hand top, a supplier can submit a new support ticket to say, okay, this is a request of, let's say, they have a question. They can give a priority normal. What is the AP mailing address, for example? So in this case, obviously, it likely will be in some kind of a website, but they can submit a ticket. They can upload any supporting documents. Let's say, for example, they have an issue with this this website, or even otherwise, they have a question about the business. They can do that, and they can submit a ticket, and the system assigns the ticket number to that, and then that is going to be visible to an administrator, a ticket administrator at your company that is configured, right? So that's where, and they could see the tickets that are submitted. In addition, one of the things that you can enable the suppliers to do is, let's say they want to make some changes to their vendor information. So in that case, the vendor request itself, so that means vendor master data or some other change information, they can submit here along with some supporting documents, so that this is routed to your master data analyst, so that he or she can look at that and update your vendor master record per se, so that they don't have to send an email, or they don't have to call and talk about certain things. In addition, as a supplier, they can also see if there are any invoices that are rejected. Those rejected invoices will show up here. And there is also functionality called CAPA, corrective action or preventive action requests. So if there are any CAPA requests that are there, this is especially for regulated industries, that if there are any CAPA requests that are assigned to a supplier, they can see that information, what that request is, and then collaborate about that to the concerned person who created the CAPA request. In addition, there is a functionality of the inbox that we were just looking at, what we saw, but then there is also the context of the RFQs. So if there are any RFQs that are there, this is an optional module that is there. So even the RFQs that are open can be distributed to your suppliers based upon what's there on here, right? So this is at a very high level some of the functionalities that as a supplier that they would see. Let me log in. Let me open another window and log in as a customer user, meaning as your company, right? So this is, let me log out of here. I'm going to log in into the same, but from a different browser, just to make sure that you get to see. So here, when I log in as the customer administrator, my UI looks slightly different. Well, it looks similar, but I have a lot more functionalities that are available, that are there, that others won't have. For example, the requests tab has some of the registration requests, like whatever were requested for registration, they will show up here, and as a request administrator, I can either approve or reject, so that the suppliers can log into the system and do the tickets. This is where the tickets will come, and I, as a ticket administrator, I can reply to that right within the ticketing system. I can also create announcements that we talked about. So something that you want to announce to the end users and all that stuff, they can see those aspects that are here when you go into creating announcements. So those are something to broadcast. The POs and the invoices and the payments are all roughly same that we talked. Oh, by the way, one thing that I forgot is now I'm switching back to Tracy Smith, who is a suppliers administrator. So they can go to the payments tab, And this is where they would see any payment information about any payments that are already made. So in this case, it looks like in the demo system, the data was refreshed, and I don't see much here. But otherwise, if there were payments that are paid to this supplier, they will show up here as to what payments were made and where they are. Same thing for the customers, right? The customers administrator. Now I flip back to the customer administrator. The payments, the ASNs that were submitted, and the order confirmations, all these things can be seen here just for visibility purposes, but the actual order confirmations and all will flow right into the backend system for further processing. So there is a CAPA request that are there that would be providing the information that is needed. And there is also the aspect of RFQs that we talked briefly about. So a RFQ itself can be raised. A new RFQ could be created here. And in this case, I can see an existing RFP that was created, saying that, okay, this is what for like 5 laptops and whatever, and some terms and when it is going to start and supporting documents. All these things are all part of an RFQ. So, and if there are any quotations that were received, they will be visible here. So right now looks like there were no quotations that are submitted by the suppliers, but if suppliers did submit some quotations for an RFQ, they would see that here as well. In addition, one of the other main things that I was talking about was the chatbot that is there. The chatbot is essentially to allow the suppliers to find some information about say what happened to their invoices, things like that. So I'm here logged in Skype. So there is a Skype bot that is created that helps customers, suppliers to interact with the system without having anybody there. So here, let's say I say hi, and the bot is going to respond back saying, okay, what is it? It's telling its name is SmartDocs bot, and that's how it can help. So I can say, I want to find out what happened to my invoice. I can type it. So once I do that, the bot understands that I'm trying to find the invoice status, and then it's asking me to give it the invoice number. So I can type in my invoice number, and once I type in or give my invoice number, what it's saying is, okay, it found something. So what it does behind the scene is it both understood what I was talking, and in addition, based upon the way the bot is trained, meaning a skill that is configured or assigned to the bot, it finds that information from the appropriate system, in this case, the Supplier Portal, and it said, okay, we received your invoice on so-and-so date, and it's giving you some more information. All these interactions, and this is one of the core skills that the bot has at the moment that we configured for this, but additional skills can be easily configured and trained according to what is needed, so that as a end user, you don't need to have somebody on your accounting or procurement team interacting with the suppliers all the time. So it helps you with self-service, and in addition to that, we support Skype as a channel. There are other channels that are on the works too, but they can interact with the bot, and it is also possible through configuration that we have. So in the context of a shared service center that are there, the bot will be able to transfer that conversation to a human agent, so that the human agent can take over and do more, say, sophisticated collaboration or conversations with them, because the bot obviously will have limited skills, whatever is given to that, and if anything complex needs to be done in some sense, it can hand it over to a human agent. Right? So that's a quick demo of the overall functionality of the Supplier Portal. It's a brief glimpse of what is there, but we wanted to quickly go through some of those things, and here just some screenshots of this. We already saw many of them. We saw how the bot works, the AP bot. We have a few other channels. So a couple of other points before we close. One of the implementation considerations we tell our customers is when we do a design, do a global design as to what overall you want to have, but then make it as a pilot go live with, say, a subset of your vendors when you want to go with. And then obviously make sure you have some change management planned in, and obviously expand use case adoption along the way. So there are 4 takeaways, key takeaways. If things you want to keep, one is Supplier Portal. SmartDocs Supplier Portal is the only bot-enabled supply chain platform that is there at the moment. With the lowest cost of ownership, it can be rapidly deployed. It's more dropping into your infrastructure. If you want to have it on-prem, or one of our partners can manage it for you quickly. There is a native integration with SAP if you have SAP as your backend system. And as I mentioned earlier on, it can work very seamlessly with even third-party accounts payable optimization solutions that you might have. Right. So thanks for giving us time to chat about this. And if you have any questions, just visit smartdocs.ai or drop us an email, and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you very much. Okay, bye now.